All right, my friends, we're going to get started with some announcements. Really quick, you guys are here. Tonight is actually BRAVERITAS night. They got 2 nights in a row, last night and tonight, with Austin. Whitsitt was out and is out presenting. Last night, Austin did 2 presentations. The first presentation was NASA Lies, the fraud from NASA that they constantly push out to us. And then he did Flat Earth 101, which is an introduction to the idea of flat Earth. And then he answered all kinds of questions. Tonight we're doing Flat Earth, Biblical Cosmology. And so he'll be going through, biblically speaking, does the Bible say that the Earth is flat, or does it say it's a sphere spinning through space? We are live on X, on Old State Saloon. And we had, on X, tens of thousands of followers join today on X. Why? It's because Old State Saloon is the heterosexual capital of the world. And everybody was joining, and then all of a sudden they were all erased off of there many times, back down to 0, and then it would climb back up to 2,000 and go back down to 0 and keep doing that. If you pull out your phone and try to follow us on X, I bet you it'll be erased and it will unfollow you. Check it out. You guys are at Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho. You can follow on that screen over there. This is Heterosexual Awesomeness Month. Thank you for being here. Saturdays, we have open carry coffee from 9 to noon. If you have open carry on your side, you get buy one, get one free coffee on Saturday. Bring your gun, bring a story, bring a friend. 9 to noon on Saturdays. All right, I have to read this to you. My attorney said so. I need everybody's total, complete silence because you are contractually binding yourself by remaining in this room after I read this paragraph. And if you say that you didn't hear it, it's not an excuse. And you could wind up facing serious jail time if you don't listen to me right now. And I care for you guys so much, and I don't want you to go to jail. So if you could listen. The topics covered at tonight's BRAVERITAS meeting are meant to be starting point for launching critical thinking, meaningful discussion, and potentially to be a catalyst for you to take action to help make this world a better place. Although much of what is presented may be quite clearly a bold truth in a weak world clouded in deception, the content covered is not meant to be misconstrued as being presented as being certainly true. The views and theories represented in tonight's presentation do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, and beliefs of BRAVERITAS, Old State Saloon, any affiliated sponsors, nor any of those companies, employees, managers, stockholders, or owners. If you are easily offended, you may want to vacate the premises right now. Some content you may deem to be inappropriate, unsettling, and/or ultimately life-changing. This content could also mess with your CIA programming that you have endured for decades. Viewer discretion is advised. Please silence your cell phones, if you would. Silence your cell phones. We, after this, are going to have questions and answers. I'll go around the room and you can ask a question a little bit later, or you can text it to that number that's up there. If you text it, that means you were too scared to stand up and ask it yourself. It's okay. I'll do it for you. I'm just kidding. It's okay. If you want to text it, that's fine. And we are going to hear Flat Earth Cosmology. I don't know if you guys were paying attention to that song I was playing earlier. Anyway, some of the lyrics on there say, space may be the final frontier, but it was made in a Hollywood basement. That's part of the lyrics of that song. and that's why I played it. So Austin's going to come up here, and he's going to talk to you tonight on Biblical Cosmology. And what's going to happen is he's going to talk to you, the audience that's here in this physical space, in this saloon in Eagle, Idaho. But we are also presenting this to thousands of people that are on X tonight watching this. So I would ask you from the bottom of my heart, would you please stay quiet and respectful during this presentation? After that, we're going to take a 5-minute break, 5 to 10-minute break, and then we're going to regroup for questions. You can ask him any question on this topic that you want. I would really like it if you can ask a question that will make him say, you know what, you're probably right, the earth is not flat. Please, bring the hardest questions you can think of. Call your astrophysicist friend. Go outside and call him. Don't do it while he's presenting. But go outside and call an astrophysicist friend and get the question that will stump Austin Whitsitt. By the way, we did a nationwide search for anybody to show up tonight, and we offered a $2,000 reward plus flight, plus hotel, plus everything, and nobody took the challenge to come debate Austin tonight. So that means we need to crowdfund more money to convince somebody and put a lot of pressure on somebody to come and debate him, and we'll probably do that in August, we're hoping. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my friend who's flown out from Tampa, Florida. He has debated astrophysicists, theologians, people with hundreds of thousands of followers. He's educated around the country and traveled on multiple topics, this one included. He went around during COVID teaching people against the deceptions of the whole COVID thing and vaccines and masks and everything else. He's a hero for truth seekers, people who are out there genuinely seeking truth. This guy's a hero for them. Would you please welcome Austin Whitsitt?
How's it going? We'll just start by addressing the elephant in the room. A lot of you think I'm crazy. I can tell. It's all good. I thought the same thing. So if you probably maybe missed last night, but we covered NASA lying, and NASA has been proven to be deceptive, fakes footage of space. You can catch them doing it. We've called them out in Congress, lawsuits, you name it. They sweep it under the rug. Sorry, guys, we didn't go to the moon. That's fake news. That's all fake. So if you don't know that, check that out. And then we talked about FE 101, so some of the basic stuff. And tonight we're going to talk about what the scriptures say about the earth. So I'm going to say this. I am not saying that the earth is flat because the Bible says so. I am saying that the Bible just happens to be right again, okay? Just so everyone knows how that works. So you can check that out. I won't overload people, but we falsify the radius of the globe. We've tested it. You can test it many ways. Laser test, microwave, line of sight transmissions, long distance observations, mountains seen 273 miles away, 255 miles away, etc. So tonight we're going to cover the Bible. And I also say, depending on how studied you are, what seems to happen is the Bible is consistently correct about things that men in science say it's wrong about. And so basically, as a believer, you have a choice to make, is the Bible right, or is it just a symbolic, fairy tale from ancient people that were primitive? And we're going to figure out what the Bible says about the earth. So we'll start it off here. So I want to start with a couple verses. The first one is, let God be true, but every man a liar. And so that's pretty relevant because a lot of people are automatically going to be like, no, we've been to space. I know a friend who's shot satellites. That's crazy. I've talked to 50 of them. They use geocentric physics. So you may be surprised who ends up being right. The other verse is, it is better to trust in God than to put confidence in man. So this is easier said than done, certainly with a topic like this, where it's way easier to know nothing about it, done no research, done no tests, and to pretend that the person that's talking about this is stupid and make fun of them or whatever. But, you could have said the same thing about the bioweapon called a vaccine, I guess. So here's what we are told the earth is. It's claimed that the earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour right now. We're actually tilted on a 66-degree axis, wobbling, 3 different wobbles. We're also orbiting the sun 66,600 miles per hour, and we're flying through the galaxy 500,000 miles per hour while the galaxy flies through the universe over 1,000,000 miles per hour. Most people in here didn't even know that's what they believe, but now you know. And no one has obviously experienced this unless they are taking lots of shots tonight. So, another part that is interesting, I'm not going to say this proves anything, but it's interesting. I'm not a coincidence theorist myself, maybe you are, but they say again that the speed of the Earth's orbit around the sun is 66,600 miles per hour. The curvature rate of the globe model, we were told, is 0.666 feet per mile squared. We're told that the Earth's tilted on a 66.6 degree axis. That's, of course, 23.4 taken from 90. We're also told that the North and South Arctic circles are at 66.6 degrees. We're told that gravity was discovered in 1666 and that it's 666 newtons, or 6.66 in, on the Earth. We're also told that the circumference of the Earth in nautical miles is 6 times 6 times 600, and the diameter of the moon is 6 times 6 times 60, and on and on. So, could be a coincidence. You know, if you believe in the Creator, maybe he made it with the devil's number. I don't know. So, this is more of a meta point, but you may be familiar with Freemasonry. This oftentimes gets people feeling weird. It's okay. You may know some Masons. I said in the last presentation my great-grandfather was a higher-level Mason, and then he found some stuff out. This is the symbolism that they use in the image to the left, and you'll see you have the sun and the moon and stars within a firmament. So that's literally what that represents, a dome. And you'll see the square and the compass in the Freemasonic symbol here. And this is a quote from Albert Pike in Morals and Dogma. It says, "The square is a right angle formed by 2 right lines. It is adapted only to a plane surface and belongs only to geometry, earth measurements, and trigonometry, which deals with only planes, and with the earth, which the ancients supposed to be a plane. The compass describes circles and deals with spherical trig, the science of the spheres and the heavens." So if you're familiar with how Freemasonry works, they give you access to a library, but you're expected to go figure it out on your own. They don't tell you the answers, and they basically let you think you know what you're talking about, but they see if you've actually figured out the truth. One of the major ones is, of course, the Earth's a plane. We use spherical trig for the sky. So just so you know, people ask, why would they lie? I don't know. Why do people lie, bro? So here's what we're told is the truth. This is the secular Big Bang cosmology. Everything came from nothing, whatever that means. So we have 13.8 billion years ago. They time traveled and figured it out. And then there was a Big Bang where everything came from nothing. And we've all heard the story. You know, a rock turned into a fish that jumped out the water and evolved and all this stuff. So this is what man tells us. And this is what the Bible tells us. So oftentimes people say that they believe in the Bible, but maybe they do not, because the Bible's a little uncomfortable. It says that there's water above us, there's a firmament. This is actually from a famous publishing company, and they say, yeah, here's the ancient Hebrew conception of the universe, that there is waters above a firmament. These are obviously very different cosmologies, and so the question is, which one's correct? The easy way out is, oh, they didn't know. But we'll figure it out. So I'm going to play this video that introduces this whole thing, and this is kind of the decision that you have to make. This is Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, astrophysicist, allegedly. So here is what he has to say.
Do you give people who make this case that that was the beginning and that there had to be something that provoked the beginning, do you give them an A at least for trying to reconcile faith and reason?
I don't think they're reconcilable.
What do you mean?
Well, so let me say that differently. All efforts that have been invested by brilliant people of the past have failed at that exercise. They just fail. And so the track record is so poor that going forward I have essentially zero confidence, near zero confidence that there will be fruitful things to emerge from the effort to reconcile them. So, for example, if you knew nothing about science and you read, say, the Bible, the Old Testament, which in Genesis is an account of nature. That's what that is. And I said to you, give me your description of the natural world based only on this. You would say the world was created in 6 days and that stars are just little points of light, much lesser than the sun. And in fact, they can fall out of the sky, right? Because that's what happens during the Revelation. One of the signs that the second coming is that the stars will fall out of the sky and land on earth. To even write that means you don't know what those things are. You have no concept of what the actual universe is. So everybody who tried to make proclamations about the physical universe based on Bible passages got the wrong answer.
Okay, so now you get it, and we all know that. And so here is what, now, some people may not be believers, some people may be. If you're not a believer, I encourage you to go check out the presentation and some of the other content I plugged, and you'll find out you've been misled. The earth's not what you think it is. If you are a believer, it's very important that you check out what it says. So this is Jesus, or Yeshua, the Messiah. So in case people are not familiar, it is claimed that he was the Son of God, and he came here as the Messiah and is who gives you your salvation as a mediator to the Creator of all things. So he's kind of plugged in, He said, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. And the powers of the heaven shall be shaken, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Then shall the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. It's Matthew 24. So this is the guy claimed to be the Messiah, saying that stars are going to fall from heaven to the earth. And if you don't know, they claim that the sun is a star, and a very small one, actually. So someone enlighten me how things bigger than the sun are going to fall to the earth in the end. And so you're already at a conflict. I just popped it out at the beginning. Is the Messiah wrong about what creation is? Because he must not understand that just one star would, swallow up the entire earth. So we got to face this for what it is. We got to choose the word of God or man. So that's a major contradiction right there. So we'll go here, and this is another one. It said, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for the lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So right there, it's saying the sun is different than the stars. Right there, it's saying that you have one light for the night, light for the daytime. If you don't know, we have the sun and the moon. They're the same size. They claim that's just an illusion. Actually, the sun's 400 times bigger than the moon, just coincidentally exactly 400 times further away as well, so it just happens to look like they're the same size. Or maybe they're the same size, and one was made for the day, and one was made for the night. And this distinctly says that the sun is not the same as stars. Another problem is this is the fourth day of creation, and we're supposedly revolving around the sun. So how are we revolving around the sun if the earth was created before the sun? This doesn't work, obviously. So again, this is going to be a reoccurring theme tonight. It's either the scriptures are true or scientists that say you came from fish and said that you should genetically modify yourself. All right. Genesis 1 through 5. We'll start at the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That should actually be heavens, plural. The KJV made a few mistakes for those who seem to think it's infallible. That is incorrect. That is actually heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. You cannot have a face of a sphere. You can have a face of a table. You cannot have the face of a sphere. So what's he hovering over? And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. I'm going to also address another elephant in the room, right? So what happens normally when this starts to be presented is people actually start to be like, well, the Bible must be wrong. Well, let's just address that for a second. The Bible is the most historically accurate compilation of texts that have ever existed. It's the most attacked compilation of texts that have ever existed, and it stood its own for thousands of years. It's not even close. They have a Harvard Bible school. They don't have a Harvard Harry Potter school. There's a reason for that. It's because it's historically accurate. It's scientifically accurate. It predicted actually which different crystals had specific anisotropic propagation of light properties thousands of years ago. We discovered that a few decades ago. So it is far from some primitive text where no one knew what was going on. And now we're at a crossroads where we're having very different accounts of where we live. Genesis 1:6-8, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so, and God called the firmament heaven." Now, someone that we tried to get to debate, a PhD astronomer who writes for Answers in Genesis, Danny Faulkner, he will tell you that the firmament means empty expanse, and that means space. That is just not correct, though. So, important part here is that it separates the earthly waters from the heavenly waters. We're, of course, told that we are inside of a vacuum. And we'll just go ahead and destroy that real quick. The second law of thermodynamics necessitates that entropy will increase, pressure will fill the available space. It is physically impossible for us to be living inside of a vacuum without a physical container. It violates the second law of thermodynamics, and that's just game over. So something has to be containing it. I guess to simplify that, as I open my soda, it goes psh, because it equalizes, because that's what the second law dictates. So this says there is something holding back water, not a vacuum. And let's see what that means. So here's the words. I find this actually really profound. So the heavens are hashamayim. And if you look here, I have the word the waters, and that's mayim. And of the waters is hamayim, which means the word the heavens literally has the base word water in it. So what we've now been told is that the Creator hovered over a face of water, brought land up out of the water, and that everything is surrounded by water, and there was a firmament separating the heavenly water from the earthly water, so much so that heavens has the word water in the actual Hebrew word that describes the heavens. Okay, so here we have a problem with this empty expanse theory. It says, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. We just described that. Denotes two types of water. If you've ever looked into water, actually, there's over 20 different types of water. Top Levels of Science in 2024 admits we don't understand water. It has memory retention. There seems to be phases of water that weren't previously known about. So this whole idea that H2O, we know what water, that's incorrect. Water has a memory, and Top Level of Science admits they cannot explain the properties of water to this day. Okay, we have the flood, 2500 BC, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, in the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. We just saw that the firmament was called heaven, which means it's saying that the firmament was opened up and there was a flood. By the way, I'm sure some of you know, but there was for sure a worldwide flood, and even mainstream atheistic academia will tell you that. But they will also tell you that the earth is 4.5 billion years old. And then when they went and looked at the layers of the earth, there's something called the Great Unconformity, where there were literal millions and millions of years of missing sedimentary layer, proving their entire theory wrong. Did they say, oh, maybe the Bible's true? Of course not. Of course they did not. But the Great Flood is not a conspiracy theory. It's reluctantly admitted by atheistic academic sources. So just fly over the Grand Canyon. If you don't think there was a flood, there for sure was. Here's the important part. And it says, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters faded away. And the fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. So what's important is it says the fountains of the deep. Then it says, and the windows of heaven, and the rain from heaven. So it's saying that the water from the deep and the water from the heavens and the rain that we experience are three different sources of water. So one thing people will try to say is, oh no, the waters above are talking about clouds. Well, no, that water falls, and it denotes that as a specifically separate source of water. So we have some other type of water above us according to the Bible. So this is one theory that was put forward by people. It's called the pre-flood vapor canopy theory. It was popular for a little bit. The theory claims that before the Great Flood, the earth was enveloped by a firmament or canopy of water, vapor, or ice. The vapor canopy hypothesis states that before the flood, the water existed in the atmosphere. As water vapor, the flood occurred when this vapor condensed and fell as rain, flooding the earth. Side note, if you didn't know, that picture on the book is literally not real. It's a Photoshop image, but that's how you know the Earth's a globe. They're all fake pictures. So this is the theory. It's to try to explain how there's water above us. It's called the vapor canopy theory. We have a major problem with that, though, because, again, this theory claims there was this magical layer around the earth, and then when the flood happened, it was removed. But, of course, we have in Psalms here, 1,300 years after the flood, it says, "Praise him, the heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heaven. Let them praise the name of the Lord, for he commanded, and they were created. He hath also established them forever and ever. He hath made a decree which shall not pass." Which means this says the firmament was still there. So it didn't disappear. It's there forever. So the vapor canopy theory is insane pseudoscience. It's an attempt to try to keep the Bible in line with man. Okay. So what does firmament mean? The word it comes from is rakia. And the root word of rakia is raka. Very important to get to the original languages. Again, in case some people don't know, this may sound crazy to you, the Bible is incredibly accurate scientifically, and science is literally still keeping up to it, catching up to it to this day. So, maybe think about it. So, okay, again, Danny Faulkner, which I told him, he's not going to debate me, I told him, but he would say this is empty expanse, okay, but it is not. The word, again, rakia, has a root word called raka, and it literally means an expansion of plates, broad plates that are beaten out. It stems from the verb raka, which acquires the sense of beating out precious metals. So what that means is it's saying there's a physical solid surface that's beaten out, like if you were, beating out metal to build something. That's what the word means. So the word cannot mean empty expanse. It means it's something solid that was beaten out. That's literally what the word means. I put a lot of sources here to help combat any cognitus that may be happening. Again, they say that we're in an ever-expanding universe of nothingness, and that we have stars that are 46 billion light years away, and 1 light year is 5.88 trillion miles. So we see stars from 5.88 trillion times 46 billion miles away, and we're actually looking back in time. Trust me, bro, and everything came from nothing. So that is not what this is saying. That's why he said it was an empty expanse, because that's what mainstream cosmology claims, is that we're inside of a meaningless void tucked away in a little corner. We're a pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan would say. So here's the Brown Driver Briggs. It's telling you it's an extended solid surface. It's an expanse of a solid surface that is beaten out. Here with the next definition, the vault of heaven or firmament regarded by Hebrews as solid and supporting waters above it. Now, it's pretty simple. If you actually think the Bible's real, and you think that a guy named Jesus, Yeshua, Yehoshua, whatever you want to call it, was here in the flesh, he thought the earth was something that they say it's not. All the Hebrew people also thought that, and something's got to give. Either this Messiah wasn't a Messiah, he didn't know, you don't really believe that he was the Son of God, or he's correct about creation, there's some type of deception going on. I'm going to give it to you straight. So here's another definition in Strong's Concordance: an extended surface or expanse. It is a solid surface over and over. Here is the Hebrew lexicon. The firmament of heaven spread out like a hemisphere above the earth, so basically a dome, like a splendid, translucently clear, transparent, crystalline, glassy, allowing the maximum passage of light, sapphire stone to which the stars were supposed to be fixed, and over which the Hebrews believed there was a heavenly ocean. And if you don't know, the stars have reset for all recorded history around Polaris. You can take time-lapse of them. They claim that we're, again, tilted, wobbling, spinning, revolving, flying through the galaxy, flying through space, with compounding vectors up over millions of miles per hour. But the stars just keep doing the same thing every single day for all recorded history. Well, that makes sense. That's what the Bible said it would do. Additionally, the Hebrew scholars that translated the Old Testament into Greek during the reign of Ptolemy, between 285 and 248, translated the Hebrew word rakia using the Greek word stereoma. So this is where people get the idea it's an empty expanse. They take the Greek Septuagint, the Greek word stereoma, and they say, oh, it's empty expanse. That's literally where the KJV takes the word. That's where people like Danny Faulkner claims that it's an empty expanse. Hilariously, the word literally, it means that which has been made firm, the firmament, the arc of the sky, which in early times was thought to be solid, a fortified place. It literally, the Strong's Concordance Greek Dictionary states that the root words of stereoma are stereo, to solidify, and stereos, which means stiff, solid, stable, strong, sure. So literally, there's no way around it. What the Bible says is that there is a physical, solid structure above us holding back water. Side notes, because that may sound crazy, NASA's now coming out and saying, oh, it appears there's more water in space than we thought. Oh, and now if you've ever heard of something called dark matter, their gravity theory was off by, an insane amount, 99% in 1933. So they said, okay, well, gravity doesn't work, so there must be some magical invisible matter there that we can't see. Now they're saying, oh, maybe that matter is superfluid and acts like water. So NASA's slowly coming out saying there's water in space. So I don't know, who's crazy? The flat earthers that have been saying that since 2014, or? Seems interesting. The Bible was correct again. Okay, we're almost through the firmament. This is one of the biggest parts. What this means is, no, you're not about to die from an asteroid. No, there weren't dinosaurs billions of years ago that died from an asteroid. No, you're not swimming around in a vacuum of nothingness that you could die in any moment from random chaotic debris and meteorites. That's all fake pseudoscience. None of that's real. None of that's real. And by the way, side note, we talked about last night, Werner von Braun was the SS officer from the Nazi regime brought over by the U.S. government in Operation Paperclip. He was put in charge of space exploration for the U.S. government and for NASA. He told his secretary they're going to use asteroids and made up stories of aliens to deceive the public. None of it's real. I'm warning you right now. This is the guy that supposedly took us to the moon. Then when he died, he put Psalms 19:1 on his tombstone, which says that the firmament shows the handiwork of God. So, okay, this is information dense, but so we have Ezekiel 1:22, 25, and 26 speaks of the sapphire crystal firmament. To me, dude, when I found out that that the earth was contains like a terrarium, it blew my mind. So I just want to make sure you guys know what's really going on. You can choose to take it or not. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color, the word's actually appearance, of the terrible crystal. So stretched forth over their heads above, and there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads. That's pretty crazy. There was a voice from over their heads? What? Okay. When they stood and had let down their wings, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above it. So what the Bible's saying is there's something called the firmament. It contains the earth, and there's a throne where the Creator sits above it. So that is not what we're told happens on earth. This is a very different story. I will tell you, like I did, what proves the earth is not a spinning globe is testing that theory. You find out the Bible was just right the whole time. It's not the other way around. So this part is pretty cool. In Revelation, it says, we'll skip over to the highlighted portion, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow around about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto a crystal. Okay, so it's talking about a firmament. There's a throne on the firmament. But what it says is that it created this rainbow of light that looked like an emerald around it. That's interesting. Because what is that? Oh, the northern lights literally look exactly like they describe it, directly around the center towards the North Pole. Of course, they have made up excuses for what it is, but if you just understand, and this is pretty impactful if you really soak it in, this is claiming there's literally a creator right above you. It can see you. The creator's right there, the throne's right there, and everything's spinning around the creator. So it's right over the north. By the way, you can't freely and privately explore the North Pole in 2024. Seems legit. So anyway, this is pretty wild, right? It's saying that there are lights that come off of that area where the throne is, and what do we see towards the North Pole? We have these beautiful lights. There are all kinds of anecdotal testimonies of atheists, like an atheist woman went there. First time she saw it, she fell down and broke down to her knees and started praying. Pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but I have not. So, There's that. Revelation 15, 1 through 2. Then it says, "And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God." I don't think you can stand on empty expanses. I will say this, as this is relevant. He said, I guess we're on X, yeah? So I traveled around the country. I put my business on pause, emptied my bank accounts, emptied all my crypto investments, because I saw that our world was basically being taken over. And they were saying that we had to go into lockdown, which is a prison term, if you're not familiar. And they said we had curfews, and I'm not 12 anymore. I don't have curfews. So I went around and tried to wake people up to that. And one thing became abundantly clear. They were conditioning us for a system that would track you, that would be digital, and that would require your compliance. And they were scanning people's wrist and scanning their forehead to take their temperature. So people were literally, I went to every major city in the US. The major cities were the worst. When you went in, they would try to scan your forehead or your wrist before you could enter the establishment. They also made you wear a mask to identify yourself, to buy, sell, and trade. And of course, we know that they then filed patents for a cryptocurrency system, for some type of bio device that would track you and award you based on that. So just throwing that in there, that the mark of the beast doesn't seem to be so crazy to the people that are in power. They seem to want to condition you to accept some type of worldwide digital system where you have to identify yourself as being compliant. So anyway, this is talking about that time. And it says that they come up and stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. So how do you stand on nothingness? Okay, this is another Bible verse. "It is he who builds his upper chambers in the heavens and has established his vaulted dome, the firmament of heaven over the earth. He who calls to the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth. The Lord is his name." People argue about the name. So this is, again, point blank telling you there's a literal physical vaulted dome over the earth. You may think that's crazy, but you may have missed last night. I showed that there's a declassified CIA document where they say that they proved that there's a firmament. They mapped it out, and they proved the approximation method to determine the brightness of the firmament was accurate. The CIA in 1957, the year before NASA was founded, 2 years before the Antarctic Treaty was created, said that there's a firmament on the earth and that they mapped it out and that it has different heights above you based on where you are, like a dome would. This is a real declassified document. I showed it last night. So, yeah, you might be in for a ride if you're new to this. It explains that there's a dome, a physical one, and then, of course, the water pours out on the face of the earth. Side note, water always finds its level. That's how we build houses. So we have Job 37. "Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and as a molten looking glass?" So it's getting somewhat redundant at this point. I think you guys get it. The scriptures say that there's a firmament that is solid and actual, that can't be penetrated, that's like looking glass, that holds back physical water. So let's just cover like the apologist arguments. Well, there's this theory that, God wrote the Bible where they could understand it at the time, even though he knew it wasn't true. So basically you're saying God lied. You're saying God lied and then lied to future generations and didn't tell them what the earth was. So how can we trust anything in the Bible? How do we know everything wasn't written just for them that didn't know things? So that's just a ridiculous idea. You can't trust anything in the Bible if you think that the Creator's lying. The other one is, it's all symbolic. Well, no, it's a creation account. That's how the Bible starts. It literally describes how he created what he created. So the other one is, they just wrote through the lens of what they knew at the time, and now you're saying it's not inspired, it's not the Word of God. That's your only three options. The other option is the Bible's either literally true and the earth's not what we were told, or the Bible's wrong and the earth is what atheistic psychopaths said that it was. All right, here's a few more verses. Praise him. This is I will say my wife and I have a similar experience, and when we found this out, when this really hit us, it changed our lives. And so maybe it'll hit someone here. I think some of you guys are brought here without even knowing that this is what you're going to run into. So we're told there's a firmament, and I want you to think about some of these verses here. It says, "Hallelujah, praise Yah, or God, in his sanctuary, praise him in the firmament of his power." It's a powerful physical firmament. Clouds are a hiding place for him so that he cannot see. And he walks on the vault of heaven. So he's walking on this domed vault. Again, that's not an empty vacuum of nothingness. Here's the part that's praise him, the highest heavens and the waters that are above the heavens. So this is denoting directionality. Now, on a globe, there is no objective up. Everything is relative to the center of mass of a globe. So there is no above you. There is no heaven above you. So what's it talking about? This is saying that you look up, and that's where the Creator is. And by the way, everyone in here intuitively knew that until you were indoctrinated and brainwashed. My daughter's not even 2, and she knows intuitively that, like, if we're talking about a Creator in any way, she looks up at the sky. That's what you all do. And when someone's about to die or bleed out, even atheists suddenly want to look at the sky and pray. You all know intuitively the Creator's above you. According to what they told us about the earth, there is no above you, and there's nothingness all around you. So the reason this is so important is here we see in Daniel, it says, the sentence is by the decree of the angelic watchers, and the decision is a command of the holy ones in order that the living may know the Most High is ruler over the realm of mankind and bestows it on whom he wishes and sets over the lowliest of men. It's saying that the Creator is literally higher than everything else that exists. So now we have a literal physical description. If I ask most people in here that maybe believe in modern cosmology, like, what is heaven? They don't know. What is heaven? Where's it at? It's like an ethereal, magical, I don't know, bro, No, the Bible says it's a real place that you can go. It's right above you. It's physical. The Creator is the Most High. That's why he's called the Most High. He's literally higher than everything else. Side note, because I couldn't fit it all in here. It says heavens and earth, and that's because there are multiple layers to the firmament according to the scriptures, and then we live within the lowest layer of the firmament, and the Creator's above the top layer. He actually sits on it in a throne. So here's what I normally get from, I will say, I got more respect for people that claim to believe in the Bible and try to tell me how it says it's a ball than just like pretend this doesn't exist. At least maybe they think they believe it. But they'll try to say, oh, well, Isaiah proves that the earth's a ball, that the scripture said the earth's a ball, because it says that he looked over the circle of the earth. And of course, circle doesn't mean ball. In that very same book, right, by Isaiah, same author, he uses a different word for ball 20 chapters before that. So the words here are dur or kug. So when he says he looks over the earth and that the earth's a circle, he's saying it's a circle. That word literally means, as you see here in the actual original language, circle, circuit, compass. If you look at the other word that Isaiah uses for ball, which is dur, it literally means ball or sphere with shape, 3D spherical shape. These are two patently different things. When he says ball, he says that he will violently throw you for basically rebelling as a ball. And when he describes the earth, he says circle and that he sits over top of it. So these are different things. People will actually tell you that shows the earth's a ball, which is very dishonest. So here's that verse here. Let's read what it says. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. So the Bible says that we are little tiny, like grasshopper inhabitants inside of this huge vaulted tent that's stretched over top of us to protect us. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a spherical tent, but I have never seen one. Maybe you guys could plug me or something, but tents are not a sphere, right? And so it's telling us that we live within that tent that he stretched over top of us. He sits over the circle. So if you were to build like a fire pit, you would create a circle, a boundary, so you could then build the fire pit within that. That's what it's saying that he did. If he was saying it was a sphere, he would have used the word for sphere. This is why I put this here, is because the thumbnail actually has Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And I think everyone here would kind of agree with that. When you look at the stars, if you've ever looked at the stars like without light pollution, it's like incredible. There are so many stars you can't even grasp it. And then when you get away from light pollution, there's like, oh, there's way more. And you see shooting stars, and it's incredible. Everyone here knows we cannot comprehend. Whoever made that is far superior to us, unless, as the Bible says, someone's lying to themselves if they say there is no God. So that's what this is talking about. We have to all agree that clearly what's created is magnificent. They've undermined it and told us what it supposedly is. Right after that verse, it continues in verse 4, and it says, their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. Guess what word is used for tabernacle there? The same one that translates to tent. So that's literally the same word. It means tent, which is a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heavens, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. So it's using the word, the same exact word that it uses in Isaiah for circuit or circle, and it's saying that the sun goes in a circle, goes in a circuit. Here's a major problem for the heliocentric model, though. It says nothing is hid from the heat of the sun. Okay, well, what do they tell us? They say, well, the sun's a star. It's 93 million miles away. We're revolving around it. We're in a solar system that's in a galaxy in this huge universe. Do you guys think that a galaxy that's billions of light years away is being affected by the heat of the sun? Of course not. So the heliocentric model specifically can't comport to this verse that says everything that he created feels the presence of the heat of the sun. So this is a totally different story. Once again, it's a totally different cosmology as to what men have created and what man has created. And I covered last night, what has happened throughout time is they've constantly tried to say that the Earth's not in the center of the universe, it's not special, it's going around the sun. It was created by literal sun worshipers, Copernicus, all these people were actual sun worshipers. And then what happens is the evidence keeps showing the Earth is in the center over and over and over and over. Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale-Pearson, Dayton Miller, 1933 Fritz Zwicky saw that there wasn't any matter for the gravity, and it goes on and on and on. And instead of saying, oh, maybe the Earth is in the center, maybe the Bible was right, they make up anything they can to keep it going. Cosmic microwave background recently showed the Earth was in the center. Won't get too complicated. Anisotropic inhomogeneous distribution of background energy shows the Earth in the center. But here's a time lapse of the sun from the north. And look, it does exactly what the Bible says it does. It just goes in a circle around you. So this is in the north. So if you go to the north during the summer, you can see the sun for 24 straight hours, and it'll do a circle all the way around you. It's very cool. It's called the midnight sun. Now on a globe, this should happen in Antarctica. And every video that claims that it was filmed in Antarctica has been proven to be fake. So that's how you know they're not lying. They're faking videos of the sun. All right, so anyway, what's the point here is that literally matches the exact description that the scriptures say again. So like nature is consistently confirming the scriptures, just like the great unconformity when they looked at the layers of the earth and it proved it wasn't billions of years old. The scriptures are consistently verified with actual empirical scientific data. It's not about opinions. Truth does not fear investigation. Here's another problem for the heliocentric model. This is telling us that the sun is within a firmament, it has a circuit, and everything's affected by its heat. They're saying, no, it's 93 million miles away, blah, blah, blah. This is called a hot spot. This is a high-altitude balloon that films that there's a localized hot spot directly under the sun. This is impossible if the sun is 93 million miles away. This proves that the sun is much more local. It is literally impossible because you have parallel rays that are evenly distributed across the earth. You cannot have a localized hot spot on the clouds. There is no answer. I'll help you guys. I've asked everyone that could possibly give me one. All right, Zechariah 1:11. And they answered the angel of the Lord that stood among the myrtle trees and said, we have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. So, and I got to say, like, it's insane to me that some people try to claim that the earth doesn't, or the Bible doesn't say the earth is stationary and flat. It objectively does say that. So, we covered this last night, but obviously there's a claim that we're doing all these different types of motion, but what happened in 1887 was they did a test called Michelson-Morley. It changed all of physics. It's a very famous test. It's actually called the greatest failed test in history. They used interferometry, which are light beams that intersect. And so because light travels so fast, you can actually intersect it to get super precise measurements of motion, like incredibly precise to tons of decimal places, right? It's called interferometry. They set that up to detect the motion of the earth, and it did not do that. And they kept trying, and it kept not doing it. So then they had to come up with a new theory to explain why the earth appears to be stationary. It couldn't be that maybe what you experience your whole life is true, right? That's crazy. So they then came up with the theory of relativity. That's Albert Einstein. If you're kind of like me and more into like the technical nerdy stuff, you can go to my channel. We completely bury the theory of relativity top to bottom. Have many PhD physicists on. Recently had a PhD who got his thesis on the rigid motion of bodies in relativity. He got his literal PhD thesis writing about relativity, worked directly with people that worked with Einstein, knows it's complete fluke, knows it's totally fake, knows that the Earth is not moving and that it's in the center of the universe, knows there's an ether. For those who love to say, but this guy doesn't have credentials. Credentials, no. Not to get too derailed, but the Earth has been proven to not be moving. The current model of the Earth that everyone believes says you can never prove that the Earth is moving, and that every test you do is going to make it look like the Earth is not moving. See, most people don't know that. They know, oh, well, we have a day because it spins or whatever. It's so big we don't feel it. The official story is that no matter what test you do on the Earth, it'll always look like the Earth is stationary. And in fact, they said that time slows down to deceive you. What does that mean? Time slows down. If you try to tell like how fast the Earth is moving, time will actually begin to stretch out. You know, time, the concept that we use, that isn't a real thing, it stretches out and slows down. And that everything you're going to use to measure the Earth moving is going to contract, but it's going to look like it's the same size, so it's going to look like the Earth is stationary. So just so you know, top levels of physics, that's a stillman of the current model. It's still the theory. No one can come up with anything better. It says, yeah, well, turns out no matter what test you do, it's going to show that the Earth is not moving. So once again, science and physics and experiments and data have shown the scriptures to be literally true. And people maybe deny it. Here's a few more verses. We have Chronicles. It says, the world also shall be stable, that it not be moved. We have Psalms. The world also is established that it cannot be moved. We have Psalms 104 here. With a garment who stretches out the heavens like a tent curtain, who lays the beams of his upper chambers in the waters above the firmament. He established the earth on its foundation so that it will not be moved forever and ever. So then we have the pillars of the earth. They also talk about how there are pillars of the earth and that he sat the world upon them, and again, it shall never be moved. In Joshua, we see that he told the sun to sit still and stop moving. And of course, it was a miracle during a battle, and the sun stopped moving. Now, supposedly the Earth is flying around the sun, so someone tell me how that works. I'll tell you how it works. It doesn't work, because if the Earth stopped moving, you'd fly off of it into space and you would die. The sun stops moving. That's why it says, and the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, because it was previously moving. Here's another major problem. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down. People are like, oh, that sounds like a sunset on a globe. Well, actually, the word ariseth means you begin to see the rays as they approach. That's what the actual word means. And goeth down means to go out and away from you. That's what the word means. Here's the problem, though, and it says, and hasteth to its place where he arose. So it's saying the sun's coming back to where it started. According to the heliocentric model, we are flying through space 500,000 miles per hour with the sun. The sun is never, ever back where it started, and it never will be. So again, Bible's right or Bible's wrong. So we'll breeze through the end here, and here's the flat part. So it says in Job 38 that the earth takes shape like clay pressed under a sill. Different translation here, the earth is changed like clay pressed under a sill. The Amplified Bible here, the earth is changed like clay into which a sill is pressed. So it's saying the earth takes shape like a piece of clay, a pile of clay that you press a sill down. That's how kings used to sign their letters. It says that its features stand out like a garment, saying the earth is flat. Here's a few more. He says, he that spread out the earth, he that spreadeth abroad the earth. It says by myself, that actually is like et maim, which means in relation to the waters. So he spread out the earth in relation to the waters. To him that stretched out the earth above the waters. So it keeps saying stretched and spread out the earth. The actual word means to beat, to stamp out, to spread out. So again, it's saying the earth is flat. Here it says, and I know that you like this one, it says, and they went up on the breadth of the earth, in Revelation. And this is a pretty intense moment here. It's talking about Satan getting loosed. And they went up on the breadth of the earth. If you look at the word breadth, it comes from plateaus. Have you ever heard of a plateau? Of course, that's flat. It tells you where to follow that word to its origin. You get to 4:11. It's spread out flat. This literally says that they came out on the flat earth. That is literally what it says. Here, if you go even further, it tells you again to form, to mold like clay. What a coincidence. It says it's flat like it was formed on clay. We are almost done. When he established the heavens, I was there with him. He drew a circle upon the face of the deep. He made her firm, the skies above. The sky is firm. There are fountains above you, springs above you. when he set for the sea its boundary so that waters would not transgress the boundaries by his command, when he marked out the fountains of the earth, well, that would be Antarctica. Highest elevation in the world known to be. Can't freely and privately explore there. People say the ice wall doesn't exist. I guess these pictures aren't real. He inscribed a circular limit in Job. In Job 26, he hath compassed the waters with bounds, and he fixed a circle on the water, Job 26. So, again, this is the last thing I have here. We talked about how there was a flood and it opened up the gates of heaven. I thought it was very fitting to finish with this because if you know the story, basically everyone was just acting insane, so similar to today. And there was no way out. We had to kind of reset, is basically what happened, right? And Noah was seen pure in his sight, kept his family, and he created a flood. He said that the water from the underneath the earth came up and that the gates of heaven opened up. And then there was a rainbow. And here it says in Genesis 9:13, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token for a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you, and every living creature of all flesh, and the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. Genesis 9:13. So no, the rainbow does not mean that somehow you're identifying with your depravity and degenerate sexual orientation or whatever. It literally is a symbol that we will not be flooded again. It's a covenant between us and the Creator. Here's the part that's very cool. Take the rainbow back. So this is what's very cool about it. That's obviously the shape of a dome. And this was crazy when I found this out. It's not just something pretty that says he won't flood the earth anymore. It's a literal physical demonstration, live time, that the firmament is still intact and it's literally holding back the waters. He is showing you live, be reassured, the waters are still held back, nothing to worry about, the firmament is there. That is what the rainbow is, can't have it without a solid reflective surface. So we need to take the rainbow back in many ways, and that is the end.
Nice. Thank you so much, Austin. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Go ahead, use the bathroom, and go ahead and get another drink. You'll notice there's a men's room and a women's room in the hallway. It's pretty clear on that. It shouldn't be any, confusion there. And we'll come back in 5 minutes and ask questions. I already have 6 or 7 questions that people texted in, and then we'll walk around the room and you can ask questions as well. Anything you want to ask him on Flat Earth, biblical or anything else on Flat Earth, go ahead and get ready to ask him. 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, my friends, please, if you would, welcome back Austin Whitsitt. First question here. What is the link or website for the video recording of this presentation and last night's presentation? I can answer that. It'll all be on BRAVERITAS.com. But we've put them out the last 2 nights because of technical difficulties. We've put things out live on Old State Saloon on X. But they will be edited into nice format for everybody to easily see and understand, and the video and audio will be made to sound and look amazing. And then we will put it up there when it's time to view it after our editors have polished it off. So let's see, next question is, how about gravity and Isaac Newton? We have water coming out of rock in Hagerman. They call it a place of 1,000 falls. Primary water, question mark?
Primary water's a crazy rabbit hole. I don't know if anyone here has heard of that, but there's a primary state of water prior to even being touched by the Earth's atmos that's apparently has incredible healing properties, etc. Looks like the CIA took a few people out over it, actually, so it's worth looking into. Maybe I say as soon as the water comes out of the fall, it's no longer primary, right? It's exposed to the atmosphere, but that's what primary water means. The question was vague about Isaac Newton, but I will say, because I know what she's saying, we just talked, he may have been a backfilled character. I don't know that he was even real. I mean, the claim is that this guy came up with the gravity theory, the dynamic theory for heliocentrism, and the entire mathematical construct of calculus before he was 22. So I don't know about that, but maybe. But if you read him, I will say, he said, whatever gravity is, I don't understand it. It makes no sense. And if it exists, God has to be doing it directly. It must be a direct act of God. And that means that ether has to exist. He then says, actually, the Earth could just be in the center of the universe, though. And they pulled that final page out of his Principia before they published it. So, food for that.
All right, next one, a statement was texted in, and I think perhaps maybe just give your thoughts on it. Let's all agree one's creation and spiritual beliefs do not accurately represent our desire for a sound republic. They may influence our perspective, but do not define it. Where do you find justification in pushing a specific belief system? We, the people, want to focus on accurate biology, consistent political representation, and an open and accepting spiritual position. That can come from many varying creation perspectives.
Yeah, so the question is, you have freedom of religion in America, so where do you get off pushing a specific interpretation? Because I have freedom of religion. I guess the question is answered within your own question. But, I would say, people have their own opinions. Freedom of religion means Satanism's cool, I guess, too, right? So I may not have the most popular opinion about that, to be honest. I don't think you should be able to publicly be like a Satanist, just like I don't think you should be a pedophile. But hey, maybe I'm crazy. Either way, yeah, we have freedom of religion, we have freedom of expression, freedom of press. That's the First Amendment. It was called the First Amendment because they had to leave. This is the story. They had to leave the monarchy. They couldn't criticize them. They made that the most important priority. I'm all for that. Where do I get off on pushing a specific belief? That very place. It literally says I can do that. I have freedom of expression, freedom of religion. I'm not even big on the word religion. I call it the R word. It's about a relationship with the Creator. And turns out the Bible just consistently is accurate. So basically you're asking me, where do I get off on telling people we were lied to? And it's, that's what I do.
Is that really loving, though, to try to tell people that your belief is right?
Sometimes you got to tell people what they don't like if you love them, bro.
Yeah. Right on. All right, can you explain why, when a spaceship or shuttle leaves Earth and the image back shows a sphere, why is it not showing flat?
I never thought of that one, actually, so I might have to shut this down. So obviously I don't believe in any footage from a company that is provably deceptive. So it would be like, my girlfriend just cheated on me 37 times, but I'm totally going to marry her. The fact they pulled a couple pieces of footage off without messing up doesn't mean anything. I will say there has been times that the Earth has turned concave in their footage. There's times that the Chinese footage shows the Earth is flat. But it's very easy to fake that. You can use a fisheye lens. I can make the table right here look curved if I use a fisheye lens. I think that's all they do is they get high altitude footage. They use a certain camera that imposes curvature. Actually, they admit they use, lenses that impose curvature. So that would be my answer. I'll actually bring this up. You've never heard of it. Felix Baumgartner jumped from 180,000 feet up. It looked like the Earth was a ball. And according to what we saw, the Earth would have to be like 1/10 of the size they claim it is. Everyone's like, that guy was in space. You can see the Earth's a ball. Turns out it was sponsored by GoPro. And whenever you look at the footage from inside the capsule, the horizon was completely flat. So anyway, they faked the footage.
Is there something, assuming NASA has all the skills and capabilities and technology that it says it has, is there something that NASA could do to present to you that would prove that the Earth is a sphere?
I wouldn't believe almost anything from NASA at this point, I'm not going to lie. If I go up, they could take me up there. Other than that, I don't know. They could start by showing an astronaut do a full 360 with a camera and then show me some stars in space on a video, since that doesn't exist out past low Earth orbit. But no, the answer is actually honestly no. I don't trust NASA. We caught them faking things 1,000 times. They're a political propaganda regime that wants to push all kinds of hypersexualization and depravity and fake global warming data and all this stuff. So I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Astronauts are actors. And so, no, they couldn't show me some type of footage that would prove anything. If they take me up there, and I will go up there, if up there's a place you can go, then yeah, maybe I believe it then.
Okay, how about if they flew or from one of their satellites, they put a live video of the entire Earth for a week, just a live video for a week. Would that help? Or could that be pretty easily faked, you think? Or could they have done that 20 years ago?
So it would be tougher to fake that, which is why we don't have that. I mean, it could be faked, yeah.
Have they ever done that?
No, no, of course not. They show you a little portion of it that's clearly using a GoPro lens or a fisheye. There's no real live video of the Earth in entirety from space at all. And that's how you know it's totally a globe.
How do we know the photos are fake?
They admit that they're fake. So the most famous one that everyone may know is called the Blue Marble, 2002 default wallpaper on iPhones. Robert Simmons, the guy that did that, was quoted as saying, so we take high altitude pictures, we put it on a flat map, that's correct, and then they wrap it around a sphere, they bring artists in to add clouds and to do touch up and add colors, and it's Photoshop because it has to be, quote unquote. So they admit that the pictures of Earth are Photoshopped and composite images. It's 2024, guys, by the way. You wouldn't have to do that. So.
All right. Next question. Clarification. There are a minimum of 3 layers of heavens. Spiritual world for simplicity. Firmament has to do with the physical dimension of God's creation. Comment, please. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that is a good question, actually. So I didn't get into that because just talking about the heavens itself is like a hour, 2-hour presentation. It's very fascinating, but it says heavens and earth. There are multiple layers, and that question is informed person. You can tell because they said 3 minimum. I think there are 7. There is for sure 3, but it tells us, and depends. I don't know where everyone falls in this. It seems like some of the books, even that were in the original KJV, have been taken out. If you start to look at those, they get very, very specific in creation descriptions, and they say that the last heaven or firmament that was made is the one that's over us, like a terrarium, and there are many layers above that. So yeah, basically the question is just said it all. There's a physical place that is heaven. It isn't some fairy tale, etheric, fictional thing. It's a real physical place with an actual, literal creator that is above you. And there are layers to the firmament, and they have different things in each layer.
Next comment question. Excellent presentation! Exclamation point. Would you comment how solar and lunar eclipses occur?
They occur. No, I'm just kidding. So solar eclipses, I mean, it could be the moon, even on a flat Earth, and it doesn't like the moon going in front of the sun. We never see the moon approaching the sun. So when you watch a solar eclipse, you're not going to see the moon go up to the sun. So I'm undecided on that. But if it was the moon going in front of the sun, that works perfectly fine. On a flat Earth, actually better, because typically flat earthers know that the sun and moon are the same size, which is how you would have a perfect total solar eclipse. Lunar eclipses, good question. There may be another celestial body. There's astronomical observations of other bodies that are like translucent that are up there and cyclical. I don't actually know. I covered this last night. I just know it's not what they said it is, because there's something called the Saloon eclipse where the sun and moon are both above the earth during the lunar eclipse, which is geometrically impossible if it's the earth blocking the light from the sun. That means the sun has to be below the earth, but it's the sun and moon both above the earth during the eclipse. So I know it's not the spherical earth blocking the sun, and that's all I know. I think polarization, electromagnetic polarization, creates the same effect. It looks like the moon could be plasma.
All right. I don't know if I'm understanding this one. So what is the angle, parentheses, they want, in parentheses, us to believe the earth is round versus flat?
Why would they lie? Yeah.
I see. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. What's the angle? Why would they lie? I will say this. I always make a point to say this. Like, it doesn't actually matter. I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't matter as to determining if they lied or not. It's usually like a cope. So here's a good analogy. I used the cheating girlfriend last time. We'll use a different one. If you're a detective and you walk in a house and there's all kinds of dead bodies all over the ground, you're not going to be like, well, before we declare there was a murder, we need to know the motive of why these people were killed. Like, no, the evidence is that there was a murder. Let's figure out why later. It's subjective. Why do people lie? I don't know who lied. I can't ask them, but I would say it has accomplished many things. It's hid the creator. It's made people think that the earth is insignificant, unimportant, and random, including children that think that everything is just random happenstance. It's told you that there's nowhere to explore and they could be hiding land, and that you're basically in a real-life Truman Show or Hunger Games, and there's something called the 60th South Latitude, which is a circle drawn around you. You're not allowed to privately and freely explore it in 2024. So hiding land, hiding resources, taking your mind, making you not trust your senses like they did with the pandemic, so that you turn to authority to tell you, so that you can understand that the air that keeps you alive actually kills you, for example. So there are many different reasons why they would lie. I will say this is the best one, probably, simplest one. The like Freemasons, occultic groups, they know what it is. If you don't know what it is, then they have power, because knowledge is power. They know stuff that you don't know, so they can control you.
I told my pastor that I believe the earth is flat and the Bible believes the earth is flat. It caused quite the ruckus around my church. The pastors got together and wrote a written letter and put it out and started distributing it to everybody. And the letter says that they researched flat earth and determined biblically, scientifically, and historically that there is no merit or basis in fact in flat earth. They proceeded to put in their written letter that they do not want us talking about this issue in our life groups, that they do not want us talking about this issue at church. And if we do, we will warn them once, we will warn them twice, and then we will depart from them and have nothing to do with them. I asked my pastor to meet with me and explain to me how he came to the conclusion. If I'm deceived, he said, I'm deceived. How did he come to the conclusion, and help me understand the deception? In other words, explain to me why I'm wrong. What am I missing here, historically, scientifically, and biblically? I asked him to explain that to me. He looked at me, shook his finger at my face, and said, I will never have a discussion with you like that. What should I do?
Dust your feet. That's my opinion. Yeah, I mean, you're in a trickier situation maybe than dusting your feet. The context of that is trying to speak the truth to someone that doesn't want it. But I would say, obviously, do not shy away from the truth. Maybe, I don't know, some other type of approach where they'll talk about it. But I will say, it's insane to me that anyone would say that there's no biblical precedent for flat earth. We just covered it right here, the most concise way. Revelation 27-9 says the breadth of the earth. The word literally is platos, which means width or breadth, coming from the word platus, which means spread out flat, and literally means to form like clay that is flat. So there's nothing but a biblical precedent. So yeah, as to what you should do, I don't know, brother. Pray, hope that the Creator touches his heart, and then maybe just dust your feet if that's not successful.
How do eclipses happen on a flat Earth? Is Antarctica the edge of flat Earth?
So we covered the eclipse question. Everyone asks about the eclipse question. It's like, but we covered that. Is Antarctica the end of flat Earth? Maybe so. So we just covered that according to the Bible, he drew and inscribed a circle, a circuit, and that it bounds the waters. It's the boundary. So it definitely says that there is a circular boundary. Tons of things, even outside the Bible, have claimed that's true about Antarctica. Like I said, it has the highest elevation in the world. There are huge ice walls, and you can't freely and privately explore there. So I don't know. No one knows. But I am open to the fact that there could be even land beyond that. I don't actually know. That may be why they're lying. But I would say the evidence is that, yeah, it basically acts like a bowl. It's the highest elevation, and it keeps the water inside of it. And many sailors and navigators have said that's the actual case throughout history. And now they just don't let you go there. So nothing sketchy there.
Can you explain ether in 60 seconds or less?
What a question. So the ether is a background medium. So it's basically like a metaphysical fluid-like medium where all energy comes from it. 60 seconds is impossible, but basically it was thrown out because if there was an ether, it proved that the Earth was stationary with the Michelson-Morley experiment. Really simply, what's outside the physical world? Something or nothing. Nothing cannot exist, so it must be something. They say it's nothing because if there's something there, you would measure the Earth moving through it with interferometry. So they threw the ether out in 1887. Another simple way, and we'll just say this because that's like a 3-hour question, a vacuum is not literally empty. So if you have a vacuum, that doesn't mean there's nothing in there. They've proven that in quantum mechanics. There's the Casimir effect. There's dielectric permittivity, magnetic permeability, the impedance of free space. Random electricity and energy pops out of nowhere in a vacuum, and it's because it's coming from the ether. The ether's the biggest lie, maybe, about the Earth, because then we would know, like Tesla said, you can get free energy. You don't need electrical grids. You don't need everything that we're being controlled with right now. So, yeah, that's a huge topic. I encourage people to look into it. And maybe one of the biggest lies: there's an endless medium of energy all around you.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Josh. I'm from Eagle. Those are my neighbors. Anyway, no, I appreciate you coming, and I'm like mesmerized. I'm not bought in fully, but I appreciate what you're doing. I have so my brother just flew to Indonesia. I'm actually half Indonesian. Don't look like it. I look like a damn redneck, but I am actually half Indonesian. My brother just flew there from Florida. He lives in Florida. And he flew all the way across to LA and then flew across, to the South Pacific. So that was a question I had. But when he flew back, he flew from Dubai back to Florida. So how is that explained if it's just a flat plane? And then because wouldn't people not fly, they can't fly across, or is there a portal or time zone?
Yeah, so fly across the North Pole, maybe is what you're saying. No commercial flights are allowed to fly within 500 miles of each direction of the North Pole. So no commercial flights fly there, just like no commercial flights can fly over Antarctica. But if you want to know the route, you can just throw it on an azimuthal equidistant projection, so a flat Earth map, and you'll get an idea of it. A lot of the routes only make sense on a flat Earth. They go way out of their way on a globe, but when you look at it on a flat Earth, it's oh, that's what they had to do. So actually, flat Earth takes the dub on flights as well. But yeah, no one can go over the North Pole, and most people don't know about that. Most people know about Antarctica, but no one's going to the North Pole either, including commercial flights. No one can fly there.
All right, so for the people who are somewhat intrigued by what they're hearing tonight, yesterday we did NASA Live's presentation. The second presentation was Flat Earth 101. These will be up on BRAVERITAS.com. So I think, sir, it would help you when those go up to take a look at Flat Earth 101 and get a good basic understanding of what the theory could be of what is actually happening rather than what they tell us is happening. And that will help you maybe explain the flight paths.
Yeah, I have streams about flight paths as well. I gotta plug this real quick. If you don't know, so the map that you were all shown when you were growing up is called the Mercator projection, and Mercator was a cartographer and explorer. His original map had the North Pole with 4 land masses and 4 rivers coming out of it, and a mountain in the middle of it. They removed the North Pole section and portion of the map, and then they gave everyone the map. So apparently he was a good enough cartographer for it to be the primary map we were all taught as children, but they pulled the North Pole out. It seems to match the description of the area near Eden in the Bible, so it's very fascinating.
All right, question sent in from Sarah in McCall, Idaho. My question is, why do you think the modern day translations of the Bible took out the word firmament?
I think the answer is obvious, right? So people believe the Copernican model, the current cosmology, and so they have to conform the Bible to that because they think that it's true. And we're warned against that explicitly. That's kind of why I added that, it's better to trust in God or Yah than to put confidence in man, and here at the very beginning, because you can't have it both ways, right? I explained that you got to trust the creator over man, and that's the exact opposite. Sorry, I didn't know it was that long. Okay. We're almost there. All right. Let God be true, but every man a liar. So It's the exact opposite of what that verse says to do. That would be the answer. And so people are trying to somehow bend the scriptures into what mainstream science claims. And where do you stop? Do you also claim that the earth is 4.5 billion years old and that evolution is true and that there was a big bang where everything came from nothing? And there are some creationists, quote unquote, that do that. So you gotta draw the line. It's either the scriptures are true, the scriptures are not true. Modern translations are trying to conform, quote unquote, modern science into the Bible, or the other way around.
Hi, I am Charla from CUNA. So you spoke about that the heat from the sun touches every part of the earth, and then you also said, and then this is also a lot of flat earthers believe this, that outside the Antarctic landmass there might be more lands, but if the Bible says that the heat of the sun spreads through all the earth, that to me that would mean that there really couldn't be anything outside of the landmass of Antarctica, because the heat from our sun, right, the heat from the sun wouldn't go outside of that. So can you speak to that a little bit? Have you thought about that piece of it?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't know how far the heat from the sun can go. I would say that I would lean towards it being the final perimeter of the earth. I mean, the scriptures describe it that way. I just like to be intellectually honest and admit I don't know, and like to point out that, technically there could be more land there, and that's the most valuable resource ever. I think they're actually just hiding land in the Southern Ocean, though. But yeah, technically, the sun could be out there and still you could feel the heat kind of far away. Like we can still feel the heat from the sun during our winter, even when the sun's way out south, right? So it's obviously have a pretty good reach. But yeah, I don't know. It does seem to imply that the way Antarctica has been depicted for basically all time is the boundary that the scriptures describe. So I'm open-ended, but it does seem like Antarctica may be the final frontier, basically.
Hey, my name is Josh also. I am not half Indonesian. I'm sorry, man. But my question is, I think I want to kind of clarify what I think you were asking is circumnavigation. How do you go around, circumnavigate on a flat Earth? And then kind of the second part is, are we just a flat disk flying through space?
Yeah, of course not to the latter. Definitely check out the presentation. I started it with that, the flat Earth one, but no, all the mainstream depictions of flat Earth being a disk flying through space or a flat planet, quote unquote, whatever that means, it's stupid, with all kinds of other planets, complete straw man. But that's what you do whenever you can't rebut the argument. And if you've ever seen people that were speaking out against the bioweapon, go read the fact checks, and they misrepresented what we actually said so they can make it sound crazy, discredit it, and then people will read it and will walk away from it. That's what they do with flat Earth. The Earth is stationary. It's basically the basement. According to the Bible, it's literally the final floor, but there's a basement actually below that, and you don't really want to go there. And so we're the basement. We're the first floor of this like layered creation. As to circumnavigation, I get what you're saying now. Like, is there a portal? Do you come back around? Like, no, on a flat Earth, circumnavigation east to west is exactly the same. So if you have the North Pole in the center, you would take your compass. It will point north. As you go east to west, it's relative to north. So you're going to update and go in a circle around the center. It's exactly the same on a globe. The difference would be north to south circumnavigation can only work on a globe, and it's never been done. It's illegal to even try it. So,
I know right now there's some people who walked in here and they had no stinking clue they were going to get into this tonight. All right, can you take like 3 minutes and just explain? Can you explain it? You know the pizza metaphor, like a pizza. Just give them the basic understanding of flat Earth and the sun and how things go, like the pizza and the North Pole being the electromagnetic center. And if you're flying east, you're flying in a circle because the instruments are telling you you're maintaining the same distance from the North Pole, right? Or which is the center of the pizza, where the pepperoni is right at the center, right?
Yeah, so the pizza is not terrible because it has crust, and so that would be Antarctica, basically, would be the edge, quote unquote. And people are like, can't you fall off the edge? It's like, no, it says there's a firmament. The evidence is there has to be a firmament, so you can't fall off anything. And can you fall off the edge of a lake? Of course not, right? You get out of the boat and you step onto the shore. So obviously the pizza analogy falls apart when you have a specific depth to the pizza, and we don't know what the depth is. In fact, the scriptures say that you will never know the height of heaven and you'll never know the depth of the earth, and before you do, he'll stop loving his people. So they claim to know exactly how deep the earth is, by the way. So that's one easy way to know that they're lying. But yeah, so simply you just draw a big circle, like envision a pizza. We'll just put a pause on the fact that it's not a pizza and that there's depth, and I know people are going to troll me and hate that I'm taking the analogy. But anyway, you go in a circle around the center, so just put, like he said, say a pepperoni in the center. Your compass points there because that's where north is, and you travel in circles around it. You're going to come back to where you started. And so basically it would be like if you walk in a circle around your neighborhood, is your neighborhood a sphere? Like, of course not, right? I can walk in a circle around this table, and it doesn't mean I'm on a sphere. So circumnavigation east to west is exactly the same. Everything just takes place on the plane, and the center is basically the center, as far as I can tell, of a magnetic field, and that takes the shape like a donut. The Earth is a plane. It's within a magnetic field. By the way, the mainstream science can't even explain the magnetic field in the globe model. There's something called the asymmetry problem. It doesn't work. The geodynamo problem, they can't even explain how there would be a magnetic field with the core of the globe model. Top level academia. Look up a paper called A Century of Dynamo Failures. Anyway, that's a Harvard professor telling you the model doesn't work. For us, it does work. It's the center of a magnetic field. There's a vortex around it, and then all the planets fall right within that same exact geometry that we see in a magnetic field. So yeah, actually our model is significantly superior, and that's why you won't see too many people that study in that field debate it, because they're going to have a real issue debating it. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, basically the magnetic field takes shape like a donut. There's a center, like a hole in the donut. That would be near the North Pole. Everything revolves around that in a vortex. And yeah, you can just travel in circles around the center.
You have spoken about the problems with the globe map. Where could we find a flat Earth map with the scale so we could check that out?
Yeah. Okay. I disagree. No, I'm just kidding. So, like, it is the question that everyone always asks. It's like, but we need to inform people what maps are. So, maps are projections. So, we have over 300 or maybe 200 different projections. Okay? You can take the same exact landmass and project it 200 ways. And the globe is a projection. The flat Earth is a projection. There are many projections. They're not real. You can take the same data, the same coordinate system, and you can wrap it around 200 different projections. It's not reality. It's just it's a concept. It's an abstraction that we use. So yeah, I pointed out that the globe map is wrong, and the flat Earth map could have issues as well. They're just concepts. They're just called projections. They're not necessarily true. The flat Earth understanding does match the data better, as the world, like there's a speed race that boats do. So like these sailboats, they race. In the north, they go a certain speed. They have a top speed of 30 knots. In the north, their world record speed is close to 30 knots. The same exact boats in the same race, but in the south, the top speed is like 8 knots or something way slower. And that's because they're traveling way further, and they're determining their speed with distance over time. They think it's a shorter distance. They're traveling a greater distance. That's an example of how the flat Earth map makes more sense because it's more distance. You asked about like proportions. That's a whole rabbit hole, because apparently, from my understanding, the reason that there's over 10 million flat earthers in Brazil in 2015 alone is that the map of Brazil doesn't match what they experience. They can't reliably use it. So it looks like the southern maps don't match. Maybe they are wider, and long story short, you could take the exact same size of, say, Australia and throw it on a flat map if you wanted to. It's about what's in between those maps and determining those distances. So long story short, maps don't prove anything. Everyone that says, where's your flat Earth model, that's what they're asking. They want a map. But little do they know that the globe map doesn't work, and that they're just projections. You could make 200 versions of them.
So that's a no to a map then?
We can use the map that we all currently use. It's the same thing, literally. It's exactly the same thing.
And for Genesis, that's a wooden one-for-one interpretation of the Bible, correct?
No, that was just the objective interpretation.
But what Genesis says is what you're saying is truth, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying Genesis is true, yeah.
But no interpretation, that's what it is?
No, it's just what the Hebrew words mean, yeah.
So when it says in Genesis 3, verse 9, but the Lord God called to the man and said to him, where are you? Does that mean God is not all-knowing?
That's a total, like, red herring. I don't know what that's about. What does that have to do with the earth?
That's what it says.
What does that have to do with the earth being flat?
It's in Genesis, and it says God asks...
Where he is.
Yeah. So he doesn't know. He doesn't know everything?
Or maybe he wanted him to answer him and see if he'd be honest.
So there is interpretation here and there wherever you
Yeah, but
decide.
not with the words that we're talking about. So. What's the interpretation of Raka? Can you tell me another interpretation of Raka?
What's the interpretation of where are you?
Dude, we just covered that. We just covered that.
So the interpretation is he doesn't know then, by your definition.
No. What I said was that maybe, obviously, the Creator would be all-knowing, so maybe he wanted him to have to answer him and see if he would be honest.
But that would be
That is not analogous to a literal Hebrew word meaning beaten out strong as bronze in a solid firmament. That's totally different and irrelevant. It's a red herring.
Okay. If you define where are you as a...
What's that?
If you're defining where are you as unknowing...
Yeah, like he asked him where he is in the original language. And you're basically asking me, why did he ask him that? You're asking me to divine the thoughts of a creator. I can't even understand the mind of a creator. I'm giving you my speculation as to why he would ask why. Logically, he would know where he was. So he was just seeing if he would be honest. Who knows? I don't know how that works. I mean, that's a time before the fall or right after the fall, right? I don't even know how that all worked.
Are planets mentioned in the Bible? If not, then what are they?
No. The word planet is in the KJV. It's mistranslated from the word age, or there are many different mistranslations in the KJV, but the actual word planet, okay, so let me correct that. So there's a place in the scriptures that will refer to other worlds or planets. It's literally meaning like ages. And then the word planet, plane, the Greek word means wanderer. So it's saying a wandering star in context. So it depends on exactly which verse it is, but the word planet literally means wanderer. So it's saying it's like a star that wanders from the same path the other ones take.
I just watched A Few Good Men, and I want the truth. And you might tell me I can't handle the truth. And I'm Indonesian, like that guy was like, I'm not, but just kidding. No, I really appreciate this guy's questions. I don't feel like you answered my question, though, about the planes flying. Like, do they fly, like, over? And because, okay, so when I think of the flat Earth map, and I'm uneducated. I'm a construction worker. I don't know stuff. But I think of the map of the world as we see it, like, on TV, right? Like, there's
Flat, yeah.
Yeah, there's North America, South America, you know.
Yeah, I get you, yeah.
It goes to Asia.
Yeah.
So is that how flat earthers see the map? Or is it a different map? Because when I asked you about the plane flights, they don't add up. Because if and I could be confused about the map of flat earthers.
So
and I'm trying to learn.
No,
like,
you're good, brother.
Dude,
You're good.
I am like, I'm full on.
You're totally good, bro. So
I'm getting brainwashed.
Yeah.
The right way.
Okay, this is the popular flat Earth map. This doesn't necessarily mean that this is what the Earth is. This is the globe map basically flattened out. Okay, and the reason is because the royal family gave a decree that you could only create and patent maps that were with a specific longitude and latitude system where it wouldn't actually be published, which means it couldn't get out to the world. You have Gleason making a map that fit within that. He writes an entire 200-page book explaining that the Earth is flat. He tried to tell his friend the Earth is flat and that this is the most accurate map he can do within the confinement of that longitude and latitude. So if you look at this, whatever flight you're talking about specifically, you can map it out on an azimuthal projection and you'll see the routes. So
it's not going as a flat, the globe flattened, and the flights are going.
they're just flying flat, right? So
But if this is the map, then they're going other directions. They're not we're going from Florida to Dubai.
you can just draw a straight line from Florida to Dubai. And on the globe, they fly like it's flat. They treat it like it's flat, but they swear it's curved. You just can't tell.
This is not the map we've been shown, is what I'm saying.
No, unless you look at the United Nations logo. But yeah, it is the same map, and that's what I was trying to explain. It's called a projection. So that's exactly the same land masses projected onto a flat surface, like a plane. So that is the same map. I don't think that's correct. I don't think we even know what's going on in the Southern Ocean. People think that they do, but they don't. That's why I say, that's not like a home run question. People think it is. Like, where's your flat Earth map? It's like, we're not allowed to explore privately. Like, you're basically defending governments telling us we can't figure out what's there.
When you say Southern Ocean, as we're looking at this map right here, what do you mean?
That the whole outer region, if you can see my mouse, this whole outer region. So like this area right here, largely unexplored, very difficult to traverse it, very difficult to find out your accurate distances. Whenever they do races there, it takes way too long, like they're traveling way too far. When we look at the time zones on a globe, there should be 24 one-hour time zones, because the Earth spins every 24 hours, so you should have perfect 1 hour time zones all the way around it. What we actually have is we have way less time zones in the north, and then when we get out to the south, we have like over 32. It's something like 18 in the north, and then when you get out to the south, there's like 32 time zones. There's way more in the south. The evidence shows that the south is much bigger. No one has actually been able to freely and privately explore past like this line right here. It's called the 60th south latitude, if you can see it, right? This line out here, you can't explore past it freely.
So how does that work with like time zones? Like, because you're literally flying back in time sometimes. You're literally flying forward in time, right?
Yeah. Like, the official story is that time zones are just a political construct, and they have to say that because we have 32 time zones in the south and we have 17 or 18 in the north. On the globe, there should be exactly 24 in the north and the south. There are not. So they say, well, governments get to arbitrarily determine what their time zones are based on commerce and politics or whatever. And sure, I mean, you can believe that if you want, but the time zones are just arbitrary, right? I mean, yeah, the sunset's different here than it is somewhere else. It's based on where the sun is. People come up with different time zones. The point is, on a globe, they should be 24 in the north and south, and then it's not. Now, we would expect there to be more time zones in the south because the south is bigger. So that's just like coincident 4,000, right? That there are more time zones in the south than in the north. But yeah, I'm not a coincidence theorist myself, but to each their own.
Can I ask a question about that map?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, what on that map, what do you think the approximate distance would be from like Johannesburg, South Africa to Australia? Because I just Googled it and it comes up at about 6,800 miles, 6,800
Yeah.
miles. But if you look at that map, you can see the U.S. there.
Uh-huh.
About probably 2,500 miles at least, maybe 3,000. Okay, so on that map, then that would mean this kind of goes with his question.
How do you do the southern flights that far? I get it.
Repeat the whole question because we can't hear it.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you the best argument you could possibly be alluding to. Okay. So basically, on a flat Earth, the distance is much greater in the south. According to the globe, it's maybe 7,000 miles. So, for example, how could you fly from a southern continent to another southern continent if it's actually a way greater distance on a flat Earth? Because you'd have to go extremely fast, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, well, you should look into it, because what actually it turns out to be is that the flights take 3 to 4 hour different times in different directions. So if I fly from one southern continent to the other, say it's 7,000 miles according to the globe, one direction will take 12 hours, the other way will take 15 hours. Same distance, same flight path, different directions. What that proves is that obviously the plane's going faster in one scenario than the other, because speed equals distance over time. That's because they use what's called jet streams. And so if you Google it, look up like plane goes 800 miles per hour, you'll see mainstream articles that a plane went over 820 miles per hour because it caught a jet stream that was going like 200 miles per hour. So if a plane goes 650, say the jet stream goes 250, 300, that plane can go 950 miles per hour, and no one on board will even know, because the static pressure around the plane will make it just feel like it's still going 600. So what I'm saying is the evidence actually shows that those flights, which are the most rare flights in the world, maybe having like a couple times a week, get canceled more often than not, normally go up north. The very rare south continent to south continent flight takes way different times in different directions, which proves that they're actually catching a jet stream. Even further, this is how flat Earth always is. It's like once you look a little further, it's like, oh, actually it debunks the globe. So if you look at the official data, it says that the plane goes 500 miles per hour both directions, which means it should take the exact amount of time, the exact same time, right? Because it's the same distance, same speed. Speed equals distance over time. But it takes 3 to 4 hours difference. That proves that they're lying with the data saying they're going the same speed. It's physically impossible that the plane goes the same distance and the same speed, but takes 3 hour difference. What that proves is that they're using jet streams. That's how Flat Earth would explain it. Yeah, they're catching a jet stream. They're going way faster one way than the other. So you could go really far, really fast.
But according to that
Yeah, I did, respectfully, like I just explained this. I'll kind of recap it one more time. But commercial planes go 5 to 650 miles per hour. They catch jet streams that can go 250 miles per hour. It's actually known that the jet streams in the south are the fastest, and that according to like NACA and NOAA, we can't even fully know how fast the jet streams are in the south because it's so hard to measure them, that they go up to 350 miles per hour. So if a commercial flight's going 600 miles an hour, and then they're catching a jet stream that's going 300 miles per hour, that plane is traveling 900 miles per hour. That may sound crazy. Just Google, plane goes 800 miles per hour. And in the north, where the jet streams are slower, planes have been clocked going over 800 miles per hour because of a jet stream. So you could go super far, super fast. That's what I'm trying to explain. And this is the part. I haven't found out how to say this where everyone gets what I'm saying for some reason, so it's probably my fault. But very simply, if the globe was true, it would take the same time both ways. It's 6,800 miles going 500 miles per hour. It takes a certain amount of time. Speed equals distance over time. The fact it's taking different times means the plane has to be going different speeds. That means the data they're releasing on flight radar, for example, 24 flight radar, is inaccurate. It doesn't match the globe. It matches the flat Earth prediction.
Hi, I'm Glenn from Emmett. I have two basic questions. Is my understanding the jet streams actually are counter-rotated to the Earth's supposed rotation? And as well, based on the heliocentric model, wouldn't the North Pole and the South be almost equal in its environment based on exposure to the sun?
That's a great point. So typically what happens is people don't like to talk about these parts. They just like to talk about like what they think wouldn't work on a flat Earth. But yeah, like you said, sorry, I'm distracted. Like you said, on the globe, the north and south should be symmetrical. I think that's right. So you should get the same amount of sun in both the north and the south. That means the climate should be the same. The plant and animal life should be the same. It should be symmetrical because it's a sphere. It's literally not. It's not even close. The south is way different plant life, animal life. There's all kinds of anomalies with the south. There's no undersea cables from southern continent to southern continent. Again, the planes take way too long. The boats go way slower, et cetera, et cetera. I forgot your first question. What was your first part? Oh, okay. Yeah, they'll try to say that direction of wind is based on the spin of the Earth, but they actually go both ways. So it's not even a specific way. At different altitudes, the jet streams go opposite directions, and so it can't just be because of the spin of the Earth unless the Earth is spinning two directions at once. But so they can go different altitudes and catch jet streams both directions.
Okay, sir, if the moon and the sun are round, which is what my eyes tell me, why should I consider that the Earth is flat?
I don't know. If that light bulb is a light bulb that's round, maybe the Earth or the surface of this floor is round. I don't. It's an illogical question. Like if the pool ball on that pool table is round, then why can't I assume the pool table is round? They're unrelated, but I will say this is a part that no one ever knows. Is the Earth has been proven to be stationary, and if you disagree, please, have someone that has some credentials come talk to me because I've been looking for someone to substantially rebut the evidence. But the Earth is in the center of the universe, and in fact, Stephen Hawking will tell you, yeah, sure, it looks like it, we can't prove it. They'll all tell you that, including Albert Einstein. The reason that's important is because if the Earth is in the center of the universe, that means it's the only thing that's in the center of the universe. It would be illogical to think that the Earth, that's in a special and unique position, it's the only thing out of all of existence that's in the center of the universe, that it should be like everything else that moves around it. It's actually illogical. They've brainwashed people so good that they think they look at a light and the Earth is a light. So that doesn't actually have logical high ground. Like, oh, look at that light. I bet the Earth is a light. I'm like, nah, bro, you're the crazy one. But so anyway.
What did Austin do for a living before he was a flat Earth dude?
Ran a couple online businesses, and I had a mobile detail business.
My name's Tim from Boise, and I wanted to ask, you'd mentioned the word planet. What about the word universe? Is it in the Bible?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember that being in the Bible, no. There's a whole argument. It could be it's a pretty deceptive term, but, one word, certain etymological interpretations, universe means one word. And if the scriptures do say that, everything was created through the word. So I don't have I prefer cosmos, which means order, but Yeah, I don't think the universe, that word's in the Bible, but I don't know. I mean, it's not the end of the world if it is. Like, I will say, yeah, once again, science has proven the Bible. It says that everything was created with the word, and then you can look into something called cymatics. You can literally change the structure of matter with sound. It's called cymatics, so you could literally create matter with sound. You can actually create stars with sound. Something called sonoluminescence. If you introduce sound waves inside of water, it'll create a bubble that will implode and make a star in the water. Look up star in a jar or sonoluminescence.
All right, your whole, I think maybe kind of the whole night addressed this, but if you have any further comments on this, how can a Christian justify the belief in a flat earth using the Bible, given that science, which is a method of gaining understanding through observation and investigation, has consistently shown the earth to be spherical, and the Bible itself does not provide a definitive statement on the shape of the earth?
Yeah, I mean, cool story. I guess if we just evolve to the approach of just basically asserting what you believe to be true, avoiding all the actual evidence and arguments, then somehow you're right. But I just showed that the scriptures specifically and objectively say the earth is flat. I showed exactly the word and what it means, platos. Again, it literally means flat. Even more than that, actually, if the earth is flat or not, it's not a science question. It's a math question. It's geometry. Is the earth a sphere? That's a measurement of a shape. That has nothing to do with science. Science is about cause and effect relationships, establishing a cause and effect with experiment. Science also isn't sentient. It doesn't make up its mind. That sounds a lot like people telling me the science is settled. I should take a bioweapon and give it to my children. So when people say stuff like the science, oh, you think you're a scientist, it's usually because they're uninformed and they're conforming and they want to pressure you into conforming because they can't actually give you evidence of what they think is true. The scriptures speak for themselves. They say the earth is stationary and that it's fixed and immovable. And I believe the creator and the empirical evidence over people that hate God.
Water in a glass spinning goes to the outside, would be away from the poles and away from the land. Bag of chips going to the mountain expands. Why are the astronaut suits not a balloon? A helicopter, when it hovers, would set down in a different location if the earth was spinning.
I wonder what they think. Yeah, we talked about that. Like, Coriolis is supposedly, like, if you shoot a rifle, you have to account for Coriolis, but we actually talked to the guy that broke the world record for the longest rifle shot ever, which was over 4 miles. He said, of course you don't account for Coriolis. That's stupid and insane. You just account for wind and you shoot the bullet. And like he's saying is if Coriolis was true, the earth was spinning and then things were deviating, then if I took my drone or my balloon, it should also deviate, right? The earth should spin underneath my drone. It doesn't. So then they say, no, but the drone, it spins with the earth. And it's like, okay, why doesn't the bullet do that? So they pick and choose. Say you had a high-speed jet, why doesn't it deviate underneath the earth? That's actually a good point with the centrifugal force. What happens, that's why they actually claim the earth is an oblate spheroid that's bulging out because of centrifugal force, but I've never heard a rebuttal to this though. So the water would congregate towards the center, right? Kind of like what that was saying, because water is obviously a fluid or a liquid, much more affected by forces than solid, which means that all the water would go to the center, which is not what we observe. Like literally would have to based on physics. Fluid would be much more affected than any type of like solid land or tectonic plates. So if anyone can explain that to me, I'm all ears.
Paul from Caldwell texts in and he said, he's not here tonight. He says, ask him about retroreflectors.
Retroreflectors. So, I mean, I can assume that they're talking about like what they claim they set on the moon. They claim they sat things on the moon that they could shoot lasers off of. Yeah, what they don't tell you is that they claim they shot lasers off the moon like a decade before that, and that the only evidence for it's like a few people claiming they did it on History Channel, and they claim they get like 1 photon out of 400 million. Trust me, bro. And it's just a cool story. But anyway, even if you did somehow receive light back, they said they did it before they allegedly went to the moon. That's the only context I can think of retroreflectors being relevant.
I have heard theories that the moon is not real and was placed there by someone to control our weather. Is this a common theory? Is this a common theory, and do you know anything about this? And if so, can you explain some of it?
Yeah, I can explain why people think that, even though it's insane. Because according to the mainstream model, the moon, being the exact same size as the sun, is statistically impossible. It's called a fine-tuning problem. So what the mainstream model says is that a Mars-sized body hit the Earth, broke it up, rocks fell off of the Earth because it broke up into a bunch of rocks. One of the rocks stuck around and turned into the moon. And so to try to explain how it just coincidentally turned into the perfect size circle at the perfect distance to match the size of the sun, it's called a fine-tuning problem. They can't work out how that would happen because it's not related to the impact or to sustainability or to gravitational need, blah, blah, blah. So people propose that it's actually artificial and something like aliens must have put the moon there, and that's why it's the exact same size as the sun in the sky, even though it's 400 times smaller, just coincidentally 400 times closer, because, God's a bad word to some people, I guess.
How do you justify using the Old Testament as an example for Earth being flat when the Bible is very clear that even the human authors would and do and will always lack large amounts of knowledge, not just about God, but about the world around them?
Do you lack the knowledge that it's a tilted, wobbling, spinning ball? The very first book of the Bible tells us what the Earth is. So that's like it's many fallacies baked into one, right? It's like a non sequitur, it's a red herring, it's a poisoning the well, etc. I mean, it doesn't matter that they don't know everything. We were told certain things. So I could apply your question to like, oh, how do you know you can be saved? Because the authors didn't know everything. Like, no, it tells us what the earth is. It tells us how he created it. It tells us that he rested on the seventh day. It tells us exactly what the earth is. So the way that I feel justified in saying it is I'm just showing you what the scriptures literally say. And I'm trusting God over man.
All right, couple more questions. How does a flight from Los Angeles to Japan work?
They fly the plane like it's flat and stationary or everyone would die.
When flying, if the earth is flat, when I fly towards Africa, why can't I see Mount Everest out in front of me? Why is there a horizon?
The horizon is apparent. It moves around. According to the globe, it should be physical. She asked, where does it end? I already answered that. Antarctica is the highest elevation in the world. You can't fall off of the end of a lake. So saying, do you fall off the flat earth is like saying, hey, do you fall off of a lake? No, you get out of the lake and you step up on the higher elevation that is the shore. If there's a firmament, it touches down. You can't get there. The governments of the world have conspired and told us it is literally illegal to go there and freely and privately explore. And everyone in this room should be pissed about that. And the fact I have to argue with other Americans about the fact that we're not allowed to privately explore is kind of crazy, to be honest. I think that everyone, if you think there's a globe, cool, then stand with me and let's go prove it until the government stop conspiring against us to not let us privately explore the earth. And then I totally got sidetracked, but the original question was, remind me.
When flying, if the earth is flat, why I fly towards Africa, why can't I see Mount Everest?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, I just heard all these so many times. I don't want to. Okay. Why can't we see forever, basically, is the question. So I showed in my Flat Earth presentation last night that there's a mountain called Canigou that you can see when the sun goes behind it, but before you see it, you can't see, or before the sun gets behind it, you can't see the mountain. That's because light attenuation exists. And so what that means is that the light gets absorbed into the medium. It's the same reason you can't see a flashlight through fog, right? Because based on the density of the medium, the light gets absorbed. So even in the globe paradigm, you have to admit that light gets absorbed into the medium, so we can't see things in the distance because we couldn't see Canigou until the sun went behind it. It's called light attenuation. And then there was another part of the question, but I forgot it.
We're skipping it. I don't know. Didn't I say it 3 times already?
Probably.
Well, whoa, why is there a horizon?
Oh, yeah. It's just apparent. It fluctuates. If the Earth is a globe, it should be physical, but why does it change? I showed an observation where we're 1 foot off the surface and it's 10 miles away, which would require the Earth be a sphere of 264,000 miles. The horizon is not physical. It's just apparent.
All right. Hunter from Chattanooga. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Is there a consideration that the authors of the Bible would have been writing the Bible from a non-all-knowing standpoint and instead writing through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit through the viewpoint they have of the earth, meaning that quoting the verses out of context when each reference is speaking to great biblical story makes these verses not apply at all to this topic?
Yeah, so called a hand-wave dismissal fallacy. So nothing's out of context. I've added all the context. What you would actually have to do to make the argument that the Bible verses are out of context is provide the context. But they will never do that. This is what I alluded to earlier. It's a theory that, yeah, sure, the Bible's wrong, but it's because God only revealed to them what they could understand. If that's true, you can't trust any of the Bible. You're effectively saying that God lied to them and misled them. And so how do we know what all, is reliable and what isn't? So that would be the answer. Add the context to it. Look at the original languages. Not one single verse that I brought up was out of context. In a world.
What about 42 inner body?
What?
I don't know. Somebody said it.
42 inner body.
42 inner body. The number 42.
What about it? I don't know. It's a number.
All right. Who do you think is behind the deception?
Israel. Kind of joking, but no, there's occultic groups of people that kind of run the world. It's not just them, but I don't know. I think if there were people with that much power, they'd be really stupid to let you know who they are. That would be like the first thing they didn't do. So I don't know. I just know that it's an orchestrated group. You can read esoteric occultic pieces of knowledge. They say they treat us like cattle. They run the world. And there is a country, a foreign secular nation state founded in the 40s that effectively runs every single facet of our life, including the media.
Do you feel this is a salvation issue?
No. I do think, though, that if you begin to see the truth revealed to you whenever it's supposed to be, and you choose to turn your head or to put, stories of men over the Bible, then you can get into dangerous territory. Of course, yeah. Do I believe in the scriptures? Yeah, of course. I would. Yeah.
Are videos from rockets leaving the Earth's surface showing the curvature of the planet fake?
Yeah, we covered that. Like, it's very easy to, if we're gonna say the Earth's a sphere because of the pictures and video from rockets, we also have to say the Earth is concave and flat because the footage has shown the Earth being concave and flat. You just use a certain type of lens and it imposes curvature. Like I said, you can make the table in front of me curved. It would be really weird to deny this. Just research it. I should have maybe not opened up that can of worms, but it says those who are from Israel are not of Israel. Beware of those in the end who claim to be, but are in fact not. And that actually Galatians 3:28 straight up tells you that if you're a believer, you inherit the seed of Abraham, and that it's not a physical thing; it's a spiritual house. And then all the lineages were destroyed in the temple, and the people that claim to be of Israeli lineage right now track through the matriarch, even though the scriptures track through the patriarch, and on and on and on. The Rothschilds founded it. It was all deceptive.
All right, how about on your next trip, we'll schedule a separate night for that. Let's set that aside.
I shouldn't have brought it up. That's my bad.
Let's set that aside for a moment. As a Bible believer, I see the globe model works. The seasons, eclipses predicted to the exact minute. Weather, airline flights, moon phases, phases of Venus, the stars we see at different times of year. On the equinox, the sun rises and sets exactly east and west, just like the globe predicts. GPS satellite TV. I've seen SpaceX satellites personally in the sky. How do you explain that the globe supports what we observe?
Oh, man. Way to not gish gallop. Did you show, I'm curious real quick, did you show that number on the stream? That's what you did, isn't it?
I don't know.
These are people that are like obsessed with me. Okay, I will say that's a ton of stuff, obviously, but when it comes to asking like, hey, why does the sky match the globe? The globe can predict the sky. What happened in the sky is how we made the globe. The flat earth has the literal exact same predictions. So all of this stuff you just named, when it comes to the path of Venus, the time of the planets, the time of the sunset, we use something called the equation of time to determine sunsets, which uses an apparent position of the sun because it doesn't match the globe model because the sun is supposed to set at a different time than it really does. We have to invoke refraction to explain tons of things. So the globe model doesn't work. It can't even explain the orbit of Mercury.
Could you repeat real quick? You mentioned a couple times yesterday, I think it could be helpful considering some of the questions coming in. But you mentioned something about how, just the simple logical fallacy of trying to find an argument that doesn't fit, and considering that proof that the globe still exists, You said that a couple times yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, so you may be alluding to this. That falsification is independent of replacement. So what normally happens is people want answers to how everything in the universe works or the Earth's a globe again. So I'm like, hey, look, we shot a laser 37 miles over a frozen lake and it should have been blocked by 300 feet. How do eclipses work? like it's a home run, you know. So that may be what I'm like. It's all I ever get, to be honest. I'm like, oh, hey, look, we saw mountains from 273 miles away. They should have been obstructed by 3 miles of Earth curvature. Yeah, but what is Mercury, you know, or whatever. So it's a common fallacy. It's kind of like a cope. It's like if you need answers to everything, or somehow you can keep your story true, you're not really looking into the truth. You're avoiding the evidence. It's like saying that Santa is true until I replace him with a new character or something.
Last question, or 2 more questions. Do you believe in the Genesis 6 theory?
Okay. I mean, there are many different interpretations of that, but that's talking about where it says there are giants. Yeah, I believe there are giants. If you're specifically talking about how it says that the theory that specific entities intermingled with man and created giants, yeah, I think it says what it says. That's what it says. There's overwhelming evidence that there were giants. Even in newspapers in America in the early 1900s, they've been discovered many times. And so the real question is, why'd the royal family come in and hide it and then tell us they were dinosaurs? So anyway, yeah, I do think there were giants. And yeah, whatever. True is stranger than fiction.
Last question. BRAVERITAS means brave truth. If you were able to have everybody's attention in the United States of America and they had to listen to you for 30 seconds on this topic, biblical cosmology, what would you say to them?
So basically the world has told you that the earth is something that is antithetical to what the Bible says. And as you have with evolution and the Big Bang and the age of the earth, you have an opportunity to either accept the scriptures for what it really says or to conform to what men say. Science has consistently proven the scriptures are correct. I would encourage you to seek out the truth, and truth is not fear investigation, and trust God over man.
Thank you, Austin Whitsitt. If you want to hear more from him, follow him online, on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, on all the places where he's at. He has his own shows and everything. It's pretty amazing. Hundreds of thousands of followers online. Thank you so much for coming out from Florida and spending time with us. Appreciate it, brother.